Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tep. I'm glad you made it. We are on the doorsteps of getting our next COLA announcement to know exactly how much our benefits are going to increase. The question is what benefits are actually impacted by this specific COLA? There's other adjustments that happen within the VA, such as VRNE or Chapter 35. Those increases happen separately from this COLA that we're all waiting for, which should come out October 10th. There is a older article here or news release from the VA. I don't think they did one this year because I can't find it, but it does touch on how this process work and what's impacted, and it's directly from the VA, and there shouldn't really be any changes from last year to this year. So I'm going to share this with you here today. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel in other ways, consider being a member. You can do that by going to the homepage. You'll see highlighted members and a join button. Thank you so much to all you members. All right, so let's jump into this. The headline is Veterans set to see cost of living increase to their benefits. Well, that's true today. So let's jump back in. And the guess or the final estimate is it's probably going to be in the mid twos, right? So like a 2.4, 2.5 is probably what we are going to realize. Now, again, this is an older article, a year old. So I'm going to kind of skip through some of the parts that don't really matter and jump into it. So recently, by the way, the House and Senate passed the bill or legislation to allow the VA to essentially mirror the Social Security Administration's COLA. So it does talk about that as well. So it says here, which VA benefits will increase? The COLA will affect certain VA benefits, including but not limited to disability compensation, clothing allowance, and dependency and indemnity compensation for spouses and children. I'm going to let you know there's several different things just in that little piece, right? Disability compensation we all know about. Your disability compensation for your bad back, your bad knee, and so forth. Your clothing allowance, if you are not already receiving a clothing allowance, that is something that you should absolutely look into. If you would warrant it or not, whether you have some sort of a cream or ointment that may be soiling your clothing, or you have some sort of a brace or orthopedic device that is wearing on your clothing. You get that little wear mark, and then eventually it just kind of wears through. That would be something that you would want to look into. Dependency and indemnity compensation is a fantastic benefit for spouses and children, as well as parents that are dependents as well. Typically, you're going to see your spouse is going to be the one that qualifies for dependency and indemnity compensation. It's a fantastic program that will pay out anywhere between $1,600 all the way up into the $3,500 range, or even higher in some cases. So it is essentially we'll call it kind of like a life insurance paid out like an annuity. It's a monthly payment that the surviving spouse will get if the veteran passes away through different qualifying ways, right? So you could be rated 100% for over 10 years and pass away from anything would be one way. Another way would be you pass away from a service-connected condition and either as the cause of death or contributing cause of death. So it's a great program. Anyway, moving back on into this. While the exact amount of this next year's adjustment has not been determined, it is based on the Consumer Price Index, the CPI. And in fact, it's actually the CPI-W, an indice within the Consumer Price Index. The CPI measures the average change in prices of goods and services to preceding years and is used by the Social Security Administration to determine the annual COLA, which by law now applies to VA benefits as well. The adjustment last year was 3.2. The year before that was 8.7, following some high inflation. Again, the prediction right now is somewhere in the mid twos. When can veterans expect to see the adjustment? Based on the timeline of previous years, Social Security Administration is expected to announce its 2024 COLA early in the next fiscal year, which is now, right? The fiscal year started October 1st of 2024. The CPI data will come out October 10th, and we're probably going to hear about it on that day. VA will then set its compensation payment rates to match, and veterans can expect to see the new amount starting with their January 2024 payment. To stay informed on COLA when it's announced and what's going on, just stick to this channel. I will continue to share information with you. I'm going to also throw out here, this is kind of the end of the video, but I'm going to ramble here for a bit on COLA. We can all agree that COLA has not really kept up with inflation, right? Sure, inflation has done this over the years. COLA has done this. Sure, they're both trending upward, but the gap is getting bigger and bigger. This is talked about by the Senior Citizens League. They are well aware of it and said that the buying power for seniors on Social Security has dwindled over the years because of that gap getting bigger and bigger. Well, veterans fall in the same boat, right? We are impacted essentially the same when it comes to our adjustments because our adjustments mirror that of the Social Security Administration. There has been calls for the calculations of COLA to be better, for lack of a better way of putting it. Calls to action from the Senior Citizens League are articulating out all of this to legislators. The idea that has often been floated around also by congressional members, both on the House and the Senate side, have introduced legislation calling for a change in how COLA is calculated. One of the most recent ones that I had seen, now pretty much all of them have incorporated the CPI-E in lieu of the CPI-W. And for the most part, CPI-E year over year has, we'll call it, outperformed as far as giving us a higher COLA. There are some years, I think, in which maybe it was sub, which wouldn't be good. But for the most part, on average, it is better and better by about 0.25%, meaning that our benefits would have been increased 0.25% higher year over year. 0.25% by itself, not so much. 0.25% added on and compounding adds up. Now, one of the most recent pieces of legislation that I had seen was calling for the utilization of CPI-E with kind of a, we'll call it a safety net. It's calling for the utilization of CPI-E unless CPI-W is higher. So use the CPI-E, which is almost always higher, unless for some reason the CPI-W happens to be higher. Then use that to calculate the rate. If this is something that you're interested in or looking into, do a little more research on it. Do a few Google searches, read a little bit, legislation, CPI-E, COLA, see what's out there, read it through. And if you agree with it, reach out to your congressional member, let them know. The bottom line is that if you don't think that the cost of living adjustments are really keeping up with inflation, we need to be a louder voice and let our congressional members know, right? With that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.